participants, please unmute yourself so we can hear you and starting the question session. Thank you. Well, if we don't have any questions, I think there's many different vectors tackling the same problem. We all are using the same. I think they're having the same difficulties, although the projects are very different from each other. So may I just ask all of the presenters probably to comment on how they would define their design spaces, and also how they would access questions about bias in their design of the protocol that entails all the ENN and NN designs. Maybe can I ask you, Selene, for the how you describe the how you avoid bias in your access, or not avoiding it, because I think it's just really a part of any of the models that we have. So what are your parameters? How do you try to design the layout so you can actually perceive a successful model?
Actually, during our research, we didn't try to avoid from the biases, because the thing that we have just managed to do so is like a speculative kind of an art, because we use like the urban maps as a source input and also like the artist paintings, and we are trying to somehow create a database for the like a visual mediums. So in that perspective, during our also like the review process, we just reviewed accordingly to claiming to produce kind of like an urban layout or urban morphology, kind of like the things that requires like more immense research on the urban data and like the urban planning studies as well, in order to claim such a things in the like producing something in artist style that will affect eventually the urban plan of the cities. We try to avoid that during the like both data preparation steps and also like the limiting our scope of the research. So I can say that like in terms of the data, we have had several issues in terms of like the accusation of the data, because in order to find the correct urban maps with the correct values of the hue values and the saturations, we use some kind of open APIs to retrieve the images, which like had a terrible loss of time, especially because the data is the essential source of this explorations. If you have the data, the process gets easier, but if you don't have it in your hand, it might become so much tricky at that point. I can say that.
Thank you for the answer. May I ask then how probably some of the participants of the contribution from parameters, like how do you define architectural qualities in your project? Maybe I can ask the authors of BIM-based modeling techniques. Maybe Xiaoming.
So we treat first of all the geometric. We call it the geometric features, vital aspect, and then we see the different properties. For example, the functions and the durability are also very important. So the technique we adopted to support the architects is the kind of classical logic. So the reason is that we kind of lack of the data sets. So the other machine learning techniques well, we'll see. Maybe in the next phase we can opt for that solution. And yes, sorry. To support the architects, we do believe another feedback mechanism is very helpful. That is, the different practitioners in the BIM project can talk to each other and based on the protocol, let's say, to enable the automatic machine processing of the information. Yes, on the one hand side, we have the knowledge-driven support. On the other hand, we emphasize also the communications between engineers and architects.
Thank you very much. And may I ask probably really Mustafa yonder, how large were the data sets and who designed the data sets for your experiments?
Yes, Professor. We collected the data sets from the several architecture firms and construction firms and the local offices which are using in the producing houses plans. And actually we are 24 samples, but I used the data augmentation methods to increase the raw data. And as I understand the machine learning models, the learning algorithms will work like as bigger data. But in our case, I created the shallow neural networks, not generative adversarial or deep learning, deep neural networks. The shallow neural networks are very well works in small data sets, but bias and variance problems occurs every time.
Thank you so much. And probably I can ask João and Antonio, was I right hearing that you were using the same data as test and training sets, or what was your decision to not separate them?
No, there was probably a misunderstanding. We used the Cubicasa 5K dataset to generate the examples, and the images on the train set, we extracted those from this image to generate our train set. Then we used their validation dataset to generate our validation dataset, and their test set to generate our test set. So we have the separation as usual. And furthermore, when we are testing the overall integrated process, since we use the same split as the original dataset, we are guaranteeing that the model has not yet seen that example because it was on the original test set, so the doors are also on the test set.
Okay, thank you so much. And probably, can I ask Mona to emphasize and predict next steps in how she approaches building physics and machine learning? I know that Mona has been working for quite some time on this project now. It would be interesting to see how you will continue this process.
Yes, I think we can extend our research to experience more variables like indoor air quality besides the thermal comfort.
Thank you so much. If there are not any more questions from the audience. And if there are not any more questions, I really would like to thank all the presenters for their hard work, for contributing to this conference and sharing their knowledge and know-how. We could not appreciate it more we're again, many thanks, and probably I will see you in the breakout rooms. Bye bye.